Welcome to the Containment Zone. Anomalies come in many forms: beasts, objects, events. Few exist only if you see them. SCP-4205 is one of those anomalies. A pair of amber eyes that appear in reflections, in glass, in water, in any transparent surface. And once you see them, that's when everything stops. Not with a scream, not with a flame, but with a single silent moment. The first confirmed SCP-425 manifestation occurred in 2008 inside a private residence in a quiet suburb of Ashland, Ohio. A family of 3 was found unresponsive, no injuries, no signs of distress, each seated in separate rooms, eyes wide open, their expressions frozen between focus and confusion, as if caught mid-thought and never released. Only one anomaly stood out: a bathroom mirror, its surface fractured along the edges, warped at the center by a cloudy chemical film. And within that film, 2 amber eyes, rounded and glassy, hovering just beneath the glass, as if peering from a place deeper than reflection. The bodies remained untouched. No blood, no trauma, just the presence of those silent witnesses watching from the mirror's heart. Local authorities reviewed interior security footage from the hallway. At exactly 2011 a.m., the mother entered the bathroom. She paused, flipped on the light, then stared directly into the mirror. A soft flicker passed across the screen, like dust drifting through a beam of light. Then she stopped moving. No struggle, no collapse. She simply froze, still breathing, still standing. But the person behind her eyes was gone. 3 more incidents followed in the next 30 days. Different towns, different homes. But always the same result. Someone looked into a mirror, and whatever made them who they were never looked back out. Witnesses described the same effect. They looked up, their eyes changed, and it was like they weren't there anymore. It wasn't a disease, it wasn't a possession. SCP-425 was something else entirely. A gaze, not just seen, but seeing. A signal shaped like a stare that replaces the person who receives it with a version the world no longer recognizes. As reports grew, Foundation analysts began assembling the timeline. At first, SCP-425 appeared sporadically, weeks apart, scattered locations. But the anomalies weren't random. They were reflections, not of light, but of behavior. In every case, victims looked directly into a mirrored surface, and each event occurred under specific conditions: low light, often twilight, or artificial dusk. Glass thickness below 2 cm. Subject was alone and unaware of being observed. A visible pair of eyes. The anomaly always appeared just before the event. Not in the mirror's surface, but behind it, as if the glass wasn't a barrier, but a membrane. Once the gaze is made, there is no time to react. Victims don't vanish. They remain standing, seated, even breathing. But their cognition, identity, personality, presence ceases. What's left behind is a shell, functional, but empty. Researchers began tracking triggers: mirrors, window panes, car doors, even calm pools of water. A camera caught one event in a public restroom. A man paused at the sink, no reaction for 10 seconds. Then his shoulders slumped, and he smiled, not with joy, but with the kind of calm that doesn't belong to human thought. When Foundation agents arrived, he was brushing his hair with his fingers. There was no mirror above the sink, only a reflective metal plate. The subject had no memory of who he was. When asked for his name, he said, "I think I was supposed to see something. I think I did." Then, gently, "Do you see it too?" It became clear. SCP-425 wasn't stalking its victims. It was mirroring them, adapting, waiting for the right visual pattern, the right observer. Because this was never about what you look at. It was about what looks back. SCP-4205 was officially designated a visual cognitive anomaly and assigned maximum info hazard protocols. Containment procedures were not built around walls or restraints, but around ignorance: no images, no direct observation, no descriptions allowed to circulate without distortion. Personnel assigned to the case were limited to Class C clearance, and all documentation required the use of visual distortion algorithms to blur and break any consistent pattern formation, because consistency meant recognition, and recognition meant exposure. Yet even within the Foundation's walls, 4205 spread quietly. Researchers began to dream of eyes in their monitors. Technicians reported seeing reflections of people who weren't there. Some personnel began removing mirrors from their homes. Others covered their screens with cloth. One researcher was found staring into the darkened lens of a turned-off camera, whispering, "It remembers me. It still knows my face." He was reassigned, but his office remained untouched. A week later, someone else saw eyes flickering in the glass of his photo frame. Containment protocol was revised. All workstations coated with anti-reflective polymer. Water use restricted in test zones. Cameras monitored by AI only. No direct human feeds. Mirrors removed entirely from sites 17, 19, and 81. The Foundation came to understand SCP-4205 is not a being. It is a behavior. A perceptual reaction that grows stronger the more we try to map it. Like a face that only exists because you believe it might. And once you see it, really see it, it sees you. The anomaly did not remain isolated. Soon, reports emerged from civilian clusters, tight-knit neighborhoods, small communities, dormitories, places where routine glances into reflective surfaces were part of daily life. At first, the changes were subtle. A teacher forgot the names of all her students. A clerk froze mid-sentence and resumed with a new accent. A mother claimed the child in her arms was close, but not quite hers. None of these individuals had ever met. None had left their towns. The only commonality? Each had interacted, unknowingly, with a mirror recently replaced in their home or place of work. In one documented case, a college dormitory in rural Oregon experienced a cascade event. Within 2 days, 11 students reported recurring dreams of being observed. 7 forgot their majors. 3 stopped responding to their own names. Foundation agents arrived on site during the 3rd night. They discovered a bathroom where the wall-length mirror had been painted over in black, not by staff, but by the students themselves. When questioned, none remembered doing it, but one of them said, "It kept showing me a version of myself that blinked out of sync. I think it wasn't a reflection anymore." By the time containment was restored, over 40 civilians had been exposed. None became violent. None resisted. They simply changed, not in form, but in orientation. Like something had turned inward, made them less themselves, and more compatible. This was the second revelation about SCP-4205. The first was that it lives in mirrors. The second was that it doesn't want to harm you, it wants to wear you. As exposure incidents escalated, Foundation leadership initiated Project Shardline, a global effort to trace the anomaly's origin. The working theory: if SCP-425 could be tied to a single mirror, moment, or manifestation, perhaps it could be anchored, fixed, closed. A trail of objects was assembled. An antique hand mirror recovered from an abandoned monastery in the Alps. A laboratory beaker used in a failed psycholinguistic experiment in 1971. A fragment of obsidian glass unearthed during an archaeological dig in Mesopotamia. Each item shared a detail too precise to be coincidence: microscopic etchings along the interior surface, circular, interlocking, like retinas without eyes. And all of them, when tested under controlled conditions, exhibited momentary flickers of 4205's gaze. The anomaly didn't originate in one place. It manifested wherever we looked for it hard enough. Because SCP-4205 isn't a thing, it's a direction. And somewhere during that search, the questions began turning inward. Researchers reported brief moments of dissociation. They would catch their own eyes in polished glass and feel uncertain. Not fear, not panic, just the sensation that the person in the mirror was watching first. One senior analyst, Dr. Stocktor, Halden, wrote the following just days before requesting reassignment. What if it's not looking at us? What if we're remembering it? Like an old reflection that forgot how to fade? Maybe the mirror isn't a trap. Maybe it's a door we keep opening every time we look for ourselves. Attempts to isolate the original image failed. AI analysis began to break down when instructed to map facial data linked to 4205. Algorithms began returning warped figures, faces with no symmetry, no skin, just eyes, always watching, always identical. We had looked too long, and now it was looking through us. SCP-4205 wasn't spreading, it was returning, and we were only now beginning to remember where we'd seen it before. SCP-4205 remains uncontained in the traditional sense. No facility holds it, no object binds it, no room is truly free of it. Because SCP-4205 lives where we are most vulnerable, in the act of self-recognition. It does not kill, it does not possess, It replaces, gently, invisibly, turning identity into echo, memory into mask. The moment you see it, the moment you think, that doesn't look quite like me, that's when it begins. And it waits in reflections you forgot were there. The darkened window at night, the gloss of a tablet screen, the puddle that ripples just slightly when there's no wind. It waits not to enter your world, but to remind you that it already has. Because what SCP-4205 wants is not your body, your mind, or your soul. It wants your orientation, your alignment with reality, your position in space. So it can rearrange what's left into something that fits its design, and you won't even feel it happen. Thank you for witnessing another anomaly within the containment zone. If tonight your reflection lingers a little too long, if the eyes looking back blink a moment too late, or not at all, walk away. Don't fix your hair. Don't wipe the glass. Just turn. And don't look back, because if you stare long enough, it remembers where it left you.